Paley only once, and 10 years ago, but her voice still speaks to me. She came to visit the Vermont Studio Center for a day in May 2005. We sat in the pews of the tiny white chapel in the little village of Johnson with the lights off, listening to the roar of the rain-swollen river a street away. Before us on the pulpit stood a very old Grace Paley. She was tiny and sharp, her white hair like a brown dandelion. There'd been a reading, and now she was answering questions. Someone asked her about the future of literature, what we will be reading in 100 years, what will remain then of the times we are living through now. That's when Grace Paley looked at us for a very long time, her face tightening, until she said at last, with a kind of exquisitely controlled anger, "Human civilization won't be around in 100 years." The slap felt physical. I've carried it around for a decade. I've had 2 children in that time, and if Grace Paley was right that damp afternoon in Vermont, the implications of what I've done are unforgivable. If Grace Paley was right, instead of working as feverishly as possible to counteract the damage we humans are doing to this world, I've wasted my time at a desk in the service of pushing around words. So here I am, alone on my island, ignoring the volcano in the near distance because I'm too busy inspecting the rock in my hand. I have a great love for John Donne, who said in his Devotions upon Emergent Occasions that no man is an island entire of himself. Every man is a piece of a continent, a part of the main. But this statement is imperfectly true. We are all islands. After the rude separation of birth, we grow into our unique human consciousness. We live among people in our solitary bodies, and if we are lucky, we are escorted into death by our families, though every one of us enters that last darkness by ourselves. William James is more right when he says, "We are like islands in the sea, separate on the surface but connected in the deep." An island isn't only itself. It exists within its context. It is connected to the water that has been endlessly cycled, the wind that is blown across the world before it reaches us, the island's own mooring on the deep rock that jigs and jags underwater until it rises in the form of other distant islands. Later, in his extended metaphor, Donne says, "Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind." Here, he's touched a more electric truth. The human enterprise has always had an end date. It is written in our marrow. And the promise of the end of mankind, whether it is tomorrow or 100,000 years from now, is the large-scale enactment of every human being's singular terminal tragedy. If every generation fears that it is the last, and millenarians have existed since the beginning of awareness, these facts don't change the inherent urgency of the eventual extinction of us. The idea of the end of humanity diminishes anyone who has ever lived because we are all involved in the breathtaking collective act of living. So, 10 years out of Grace Paley's 100 are gone. So tell me, what are we doing here, scribbling at the end of the world?